I brought this with me. We're probably the only couple that travel with farm implements and things like that. But I brought this because I believe this is a beautiful picture of marriage. Now, all the single people here are very depressed right now because this is not exactly what you thought, that the chick flicks and the romance novels and soap operas and all that kind of stuff depicts marriage. But this is really true. This is a yoke for you city folk. And it's where two beasts of burden go, if you're not familiar with how they're used. They put the heads in there, and together they pull a load. And I believe the yoke is, the Scripture calls us yoke fellows. It warns us, don't be unequally yoked. And there's a reason. A yoke is a symbol of cooperation and submission. And you don't get anything done in a yoke if you don't cooperate and pull together. That's what God has called us to do as a married couple, is to be in the yoke together. Now, there's two ways I could see that a person could be out of the yoke. One could be out of the yoke because they're back on the wagon. They're part of the load. They're not helping. They're just being pulled along. And sometimes women think that they're supposed to do this. They think that that's what submission is. It sounds something like this. Well, whatever you think, honey. Well, it doesn't matter to me. You make that decision. I don't care. It's all up to you. They think that's what they're supposed to do. They think that's what submission sounds like, but it's not. That's not being submissive. That's being lazy. God's called us to pull together, to be a helper, to be a teammate with our spouse. And if you're back on the wagon because you think that's where God put you, you're wrong. You need to get out and get in the yoke and pull together. Hey, there you go. They're getting all excited now. Now, another way you could be out of the yoke is you're not back on the wagon, you're out front calling the shots. And you're controlling your family. And you're telling everybody what to do. Sometimes people look at people who are out front like that and they say, aren't they strong and independent? I don't think so. I think they're a coward. If you have to be in control, you are a person who is controlled by fear. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. But perfect love casts out fear. And let me just give you a little test. If you've ever heard your spouse say to your children, don't get her started, or if you've heard him say, don't get him started, then you have an anger problem and you're controlling your family with your anger. And what you might think is respect is actually fear, and that's not love. I read an account where they had a horse pulling contest. The winning horse pulled 4,500 pounds. The runner-up pulled 4,000 pounds. But when they yoked the horses, they harnessed them together, they pulled over 12,000 pounds. This is God's plan. The yoke is God's idea.